Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Season 2 in Call of Duty Warzone. Today, we're gonna check out one of the new weapons in the game, the FARA 83. It's a brand new AR and we're gonna check out the basic weapon stats. We're gonna give you as much information as possible from everything that we could find so far. Please note that most of the guys who are checking out all the attachments have not been able to complete their work yet, so that will be for next week's video. This week, we'll check out the basic weapon stats, so let's go. Fire rate is 790 rounds per minute, which is okay, but you know it depends on the bullet velocity and the actual damage output. That was gonna give you the time to kill. So for headshots we got 49 damage, for chest, stomach and extremities we got all 33. So we have two damage profiles, one for headshots and one for everything else. The first damage drop-off point starts already at 22 meters, which is not very far for an assault rifle. Most of them start much further down the line. Now after 22 meters, what's gonna happen? So headshots is gonna go down to 37. Remember, it started at 49, goes down to 37. Chest shots and everything else starts at 33 and then it goes down to 25. This is quite a big drop actually. But of course you know the best barrel that you can find or unlock is gonna improve these numbers, or at least the range. But for now, this is what we're working with, and this is what you'll be working with when you first get your hands on this gun. Remember, the basic weapon stats is what we're covering, and that's also what you'll be playing with before you unlock all of the other attachments. ADS time, 296 milliseconds, which is quite average for ARs. That's not really great, but okay, fair enough. Movement speed 4.67, ADS movement speed 2.45. These numbers are okay, it's a little bit on the slower side, but that's the way it is. We can improve it later, hopefully next week. Reload time 3.17 seconds. Now reload time, it doesn't really matter that much. Only the RAM 7 can benefit from an attachment that improves your reload time, so the sleight of hand. All the other guns, you shouldn't really worry about this. Tactical sprint to fire time. This is relatively long. This is not your sprint to fire time that you normally cover in the videos, which is 263, which is sort of the standard for ARs. It's the tactical sprint to fire time. It's 392 milliseconds. You got a hipfire area. Now with these weapons, you shouldn't be using hipfire in the first place, and the rest you really have to, so just forget about this number. And there's no open bolt delay. Now let's check it out and compare it to one of the other weapons. Let's compare the FARA with the CR56 Amax, a weapon that we all know. So remember 790, 49 and 33. For the CR56 Amax, 630 which is lower, 56 which is higher, 42 which is higher and 35 which is higher as well. Remember 33 versus 35. So the damage output of the CR56 is slightly higher for everything, for every area on your body compared to the FARA 83. The rate of fire is slower, but then you also have the bullet velocity that comes into play, and we'll check out the time to kill values in a second. So FARA versus CR56 Amax. So we're using time to kill, not DPS, 250 plates, so full health in Warzone. There's no sprint to fire delay, no ADS delay, but there is bullet travel time to the target. Now we can change this to make it look a little bit cleaner and nicer for you. And there you can see, CR56 Amax will kill a lot faster than the FARA 83. CR56 Amax needs 0.476 seconds at 0 range, of course no bullet travel time, compared to 0.532, so 0.5 versus 0.47. So there's a quite significant difference. At 22 until 24 meters, the difference becomes a lot smaller because that's where they have their damage drop of points. But after that, the difference becomes insanely big. And remember, I don't know if you've used the FARA already, it's not that stable at range. I do perform better with the CR56 Amax, but I don't have all the attachments yet for the FARA. Now the difference now is 0.684 versus 0.571. So that's more than 100 milliseconds. It's quite a big difference. It really is. So is this gun gonna be a game-breaking change to Warzone? No, absolutely not. However, it's quite a fun gun to use. It's pretty good to use. But you're gonna notice this in certain gunfights, especially at range, that you're, I don't know, I'm not saying underperforming, but something's missing. And it's sort of the damage output. That's the biggest thing that's missing for me. And also the accuracy. Those are the two biggest downsides for this new weapon. Now I have to be honest with you, the FARA 83 comparison to the CR56 Amax is not really fair because the CR56 Amax is just so good. So let's throw in the kilo for comparison's sakes, and you see a very different picture already. So initially, time to kill from the kilo is 0.639. For the FARA 0.532, which makes this gun actually pretty good. It's not as bad as I first showed you, but we're comparing it to one of the beasts of Warzone, so it's sort of the downside for the FARA. It's not that great, but it's better than certain weapons like the Kilo and everything that sort of looks like the Kilo. There's a small point where the Kilo is gonna win. At 22 meters until 30.5 meters, the Kilo is gonna outperform the FARA, but after that, the FARA is the winner at all ranges. Let's say at 60 meters, which is not that big of an engagement distance, the Kilo needs more than 1 second, and the FARA will need 0.684. Which is almost twice as fast. So it is really good. The problem is the Kilo is accurate at range. The FARA isn't. At least I haven't found the best combination of attachments yet to make this weapon work at range, especially not as accurately as a Kilo. I don't think that will ever be possible, but then you're dealing with the damage difference. So here you got accuracy. Every bullet is gonna hit. Here you're gonna miss quite a few shots. So your time to kill will maybe be close to each other, but you'll have to see. It depends on your skills and your familiarity with the FARA. So let's go for the base comparison stats. So left FARA, right Kilo. Rate of fire, relatively similar, 751 for the Kilo, 790 for the FARA. Damage output. As you can see, the FARA is slightly better at damage output than the Kilo, but damage drop-off points, very important. 22 meters, just 1, and 30.5 meters, 30 to 54.5, and then beyond 54.5. So after the first damage drop-off point, 37 and 25, 34 and 23, so still lower. And then headshots 27, 18, 18, this stays the same. So what did I wanted to see? Okay, for after the damage drop-off point, for those 8.5 meters, you're outperforming with 5 damage and 3 damage. So this difference is 5, 37 versus 42, and 25 versus 28. So that's the only range where the Kilo is better, and beyond that it's just there's no match. But you have to be able to hit your bullets with the FARA. Big question mark. ADS time. This is super important. 238 versus 296. So let's see what the impact is on our weapon stats. So ADS percentage, and it relatively stays the same. The difference is now, so I've included bullet travel time. So we're looking at 0.877. That's when you see your opponent, you're not sprinting, you raise your weapon and you can shoot at him as soon as you ADS. So that's not taking into account that you press your fire button before you ADS. 0.877 versus 0.828. So now the difference is not that big anymore. Let's get rid of this again. 0.6, 0.532. So that's 100 milliseconds difference. With the ADS time, the difference becomes 639. Yeah, still 100 milliseconds, but not when we include everything. 877, 828. So that's 50, 49 actually. It's quite a big difference, eh? Just the ADS time. So you have to take this into account for a weapon like this. For an AR, you have to include the ADS time. Sure, for the SMGs, you can say, look, I don't ADS because it's only my short range weapon. Okay, fair enough. But for an AR, you're gonna use ADS most of the time. And now the difference isn't that big anymore. But remember, you're gonna be more accurate with the Kilo. A lot more accurate. So at our changeover point, so what happens here? Looking at 1 second, let's say, for the FARA, and the Kilo still does it in 0.92. So now the Kilo has almost a 100 millisecond advantage up until 30.5 meters. After that, it changes again. So the Kilo has its damage drop-off point, looking at 1.079 versus 1.16. So the difference is a little bit bigger, but then it changes again at the second damage drop-off point for the Kilo. Bear in mind the accuracy issue, but the FARA on paper is definitely better, but the difference is much lower when we include the ADS time. Sprint to fire time, 263 for the Kilo, 263 for the FARA, so this is not gonna change anything. Let's just quickly confirm, and everything is still the same, no changes there. So now we have a pretty good overview of what the FARA can do compared to other popular weapons, like the CR56 Amax or the Kilo 141. Hopefully you guys have learned something. You have a pretty good idea of what the weapon can do, but we still have to figure out how we can improve that. And for that, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week. Have fun on Warzone, unlocking the FARA 83, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.